But I wanted to say last month we talked about financial preparedness and we had wonderful panelists up here, and somebody asked the question, well, how do I choose like a reputable person or with integrity? That finances is a big deal. And it dawned on me as Virginia and I were talking after, that was a perfect place for me to say, this is why we have partnered with these amazing people, and they're great at what they do, but they're just good humans. And so a variety of services provided. So get to know them and get to know early and make decisions in a planful way. So again, thank you all for being here. I'm going to pop it over to Virginia, and I'll ask our panelists to come on up as well, Reg and Sherry. And you guys are in for a treat. We had a pre-meeting last week, and these two are just incredible. They had me rolling. Yeah, she's going to dance for us here. So enjoy this seminar today. Here we go.
Good morning once again. Thanks, Vince, for our introductions. And I'm so pleased you all are here. I love the energy in this room when people who come in and they're already saying, this is a topic I really want to know about. I don't want to make this move today, but for a variety of reasons, and some have expressed concerns about their neighbors and friends who didn't plan ahead, which is an eye-opener for many of us to be informed, to know what the options are. And that's what we want to do today. So I love our title, Beyond the Brochure. That's what we're about. You see the glossy photos and you see the wonderful stories. Sorry, community marketing people, nothing against your marketing. That's all very important. But what's the real story? What do the residents what's it like to live there? And that's what we're going to be talking about today. I know I've gotten off the script I gave to Ken, but he's used to that. As we were planning and meeting with these panelists and looking at next month, and last week we had the opportunity to meet with several of you who came to our downsizing workshop, it all came to me that, what we're really talking about is an adventure. Now, for some of us, don't panic. You do not have to travel in your RV or cruise the world like you will hear about. But adventure is something new. Sometimes it's an opportunity to do things we just haven't had the opportunity to do before. Some of us may want to get caught up on reading the books, spending time with family. Lots of opportunities. So I want us to challenge ourselves today to think about an adventure awaits. And we're going to be talking more about that. We're going to offer you an adventure to visit senior communities. We'll talk about that at the end today. But I want you to have the opportunity to meet our panelists and learn from their experiences. And anytime we engage in a new experience, there's learning, there are challenges, and that's what we want to hear about. It's not always just perfect roses all the time, but pretty much is. So, but you know what it really boils down to is what we make of any experience, and you'll see. Well, I'm just so pleased that Sherry and Reg were able to be with us today and share their experiences. So we're going to go ahead, and just so you know, we're going to spend some time visiting with them. And then I'm going to, after that, talk about some of the information in your packet. And then we'll introduce our special surprise that we're going to offer for helping people understand more about senior communities. So let's start off, and I'm going to start Sherry and then Reg to tell us who you are and where you live. Just briefly, we're going to get into more of the factors in a minute, but just briefly why you're here. Okay.
It's dangerous to give a woman my age a mic and say, talk about your life. We could be here for a while.
Now, we're
Anyway,
talking about this specific part.
she told me that. So I will just do the highlights. My name is Sherry. I think there's one consistent highlight that I'll have to tell you about, and that is that my life has been really blessed because we have a Lord that delights in being with us, who forgives us, and who changes our darknesses and tears into light and joy. That's the consistency in my life. So, I'll tell you a little bit about me.
Okay.
Okay? I was born into a very extended family in Northwest Missouri. I lived with my grandparents off and on for 12 years. It was a wonderful experience with cousins all around, but at 12, we moved into the country in eastern Kansas, and I had another wonderful experience. I got to go to one of the last country one-room schoolhouses in Kansas for a whole year. After that, we moved on and west, if you want to say it that way, into north central Kansas. It's another small town, another group of people who knew us and loved us and watched over us. Met my husband there, married that sweetheart several long years later, but and followed him to Texas, which we have been here now for, oh my goodness, 50 years? That can't be possible, is it? Anyway, moved to Texas and into Sun City, where again, it was like an extended family, small neighborhood, good friends, and I loved that experience. So we'll leave it there and then go on later.
Thank you. And Reg.
Well, it's not a conspiracy, but I also grew up in Kansas. Not only did I grow up there, I went to college in Kansas State University and later on for advanced degrees at the University of Kansas. So I really did have my upbringing in Kansas. I was in the Air Force, served in Vietnam. After that, I eventually got married. My wife and I have 2 children, a son and a daughter, who both are independent completely right now, which gives me great joy and pleasure. And they're doing wonderful things with both their lives. My daughter is a nurse practitioner. I mention that only because that has been a big positive thing in my life as I get older and have health issues. I worked for the federal government for 35 years. I'm a retired federal employee. I moved to Sun City, moved there in 2005, which is 20 years ago, if you can believe that. I retired 20 years ago. A year and a half ago, I moved into Wesleyan. I moved into one apartment there. There's a story behind this we can talk about later if you want to. I moved into one apartment there which gave me residency privileges. I had first choice on the apartment I really wanted. And I moved again 3 months later, and I now live in the apartment I really want. It's been an excellent move for me. The reason I moved, basically, I was tired of taking care of a house, as well as my medical issues. I was trying to simplify my life, and it's definitely done that. One side benefit, I did not realize my life is much more social than what it was living alone in a large house in Sun City.
So Reg jumped ahead, which is great. I'm glad you did. And I know that was a long journey, Reg. Actually, I was his realtor when he moved. And when I look back in my file, when we started a conversation many years ago about the maybe someday possibility, and then when you made the decision that keeping up with the house, you were just essentially tired of that. And I love what you added there at the end. You discovered one of the benefits that we'll talk about was this social interaction that is so much more easily available. You were social in the community, you were very involved in the church and other activities, but it's kind of maybe brought up a whole new side for you. So we'll hear more about that in just...
Yeah, I'll share some hints on that a little bit later.
Okay, all right.
One thing I did want to suggest, read the handouts. They have lists of questions there. If you don't exact what questions to ask, look through them. They'll give you some ideas, and we'll be glad to answer them.
So I'll explain more about those in just a minute, but I'm glad you endorsed that idea, so thank you for that. Well, Sherry, tell us a little bit about you've given us a summary of your background, but what prompted the decision to move from your home in Sun City, in your case to the Oscar, and what were some of the factors?
Well, I guess the thing that really woke me up was a series of falls that I had had. Two of them hurt. And I think that accompanying with the fact...
Yeah, keep it right up there. Thank you. Now she can't talk, sorry.
along with the fact that we too were getting a little... it was getting a little more wearying to take care of a big house and a big yard. Paying taxes? Did they say something about not having to? Anyway, that's always a good thing. And so that was part of it. But honestly, the thing that I think probably made the biggest difference about when we did it was that we wanted to choose this for ourselves. Instead of having our families make that decision for us and tell us where we were going to live, we wanted to live where we chose. And so that was a big factor. We also wanted to move while we were still able to enjoy this. It's fun. And I wanted to be a part of that fun. So we moved so we could have a lot of people around us. The interesting thing for me was that we did the math and was surprised when we added up all of the things that it cost to live in our own home and compared it to what it would cost living in a small apartment and a senior facility. And it wasn't that different. That was a surprise, but you have to think about everything. The other thing that I think of that you keep hearing is that it was just harder to deal with all the things in our house. Many things were failing, frankly. In fact, the very day they put up a sign in our yard was the day the water heater decided to quit. The other thing was that we hoped to live in a place where we had all levels of care, so that we didn't have to move all around to find that. So those are the main reasons.
You gave us very important reasons. I just want to pick up on that whole idea of making the choice.
Yes.
We talk about throughout our seminars, we want to educate, equip, and inspire seniors to make informed choices.
Yes.
And for those of you who used to attend our seminars way back before COVID, when we were at First Presbyterian, and there's some of you who were here then, we had a gentleman who would often say, make the move while you can decide.
Yes.
You don't want your kids to make that
Yes.
decision.
Yes.
And we kind of think that's in jest. But you know, I just had some conversations this morning with someone who was concerned about their friends who have not made the decision to move, and they're reaching the point where they're not going to have choices. It's going to be made for them, and we can tell lots of stories about that. But let's be positive. This is an opportunity.
It is.
And
Very
you
much so.
sought it out. We're going to hear more about what all they do. But, you know, I also want to emphasize the point she made about cost. It's easy for us to look, and I'm not going to get into the cost. You can visit with our educational partners about their communities. But the important point is we have this reaction, oh, that's so expensive. $4,000, $5,000 a month. Oh, I can't afford that. Hey, hold on. Have you thought about what you did, what it's costing you to stay in your home?
Uh-huh.
And so sometimes, remember, you're giving up a lot of expenses, and you're you're gaining extra things. So anyway, I just I'm glad you mentioned that. I wanted to reiterate that. Reg, thank you. Now, you've already given us a little preview, and you could go ahead with your other story you wanted to share about your apartment.
I've forgotten what it was.
You made one move to an apartment
Yeah.
to get in.
I guess that
Mike.
part of that is you need to evaluate what you really need
Yes.
and list those things and be honest with yourself. What are the true things that you need? I've talked to people that go in and they will eat a lunch at a facility and they say, I didn't like the food. I don't want to move in there. Believe me, you need to look at more than the food they served when you were there visiting. So I tended to look maybe on the hard facts, you might say, the finances, the accommodations, things like that. And some of my specific situation, as I mentioned to you, my daughter, nurse practitioner, comes visits me approximately once a month. A 2-bedroom apartment was what I needed. I also had a computer that needed a place to be. And if you looked at any of these places, you know that a lot of the smaller units just don't have a place for a computer. I don't know what the people do when they move in there. But anyway, to get the apartment, well, the story I'll tell you about this, to get the apartment I wanted at the Wesleyan where I am now, I moved into one apartment that was available. And once I was a resident there, I had priority for the apartment I really wanted, which became available 3 months later. So there were 2 moves involved, but I had made the determination, for me, that was worth it, to get the apartment I wanted. The apartment I have now is one of the larger apartments. It's 2-bedroom, 2-bath unit, has washer and dryer in the unit, has a kitchen, not just a niche off the living area. This is a regular kitchen in a room. It has a huge walk-in closet with in the master bedroom, or what they call it, primary bedroom now. There's just to give you an example, I have in that closet, I have a dresser, and I also have a chair and what I call my dressing space, as well as lots of clothes. So that was a big thing for me too, to have that type of an arrangement. Other things. You talked a little bit about the finances. One of the things you may not realize, the equity in your home, that can work for you when you leave that home, sell that home. So you have to make sure you include that in your planning for the finances. You can talk with a financial advisor. He can give you, or he or she can give you advice on how that may figure into your calculations. So really, you need to have a list of the things that are important to you and be truthful with yourself about them. And you're not going to find the perfect apartment. I came very close, and I'm very happy I was able to, from all aspects. But I wish you luck in your hunt, and you will enjoy it once you get there and do it.
I want to pick up on this idea of not finding the perfect place. You know, folks, you've got to be flexible. And I know as a realtor, when we're helping people buy homes, the perfect home, what's going to meet your most important needs in a community? And I'm going to challenge us, and because you all haven't been through our Downsizing Club or other events, but as we think about independent living, and let me just highlight that, there's a summary sheet in your handout, which we'll talk more about later. But I wanted to emphasize that independent living, first of all, it is independent. When people say, oh, I'm not going to go live with those old people. Well, there's a wide variety.
Absolutely.
And some people are old at 60, and some people are still doing things at 93, you know, so just say it's not chronological. But it's that whole point of making it what works for you. It is such an attitude. So on independent living communities, the hallmark, what distinguishes independent living communities, there is some type of meal plan. Now, and it varies, and they may go back and talk about their own communities. Some, there are 3 meals a day served family style. Some, you have an account, and each meal goes off that account, and you see how much money you have left at the end of the month to, make you use or go over, whatever. Others of you contract, I'm going to have 2 meals a day. So, but an independent living community does offer some type of meal plan. What we are seeing, and so independent communities, we have 2 represented here today. The Oscar, the Wesleyan, we have the Delaney, we have the Oaks the Oaks Gracious Living Hacienda. Go on down the road, and we have several others. One thing to be aware of is, not aware of, but another senior living option that we're seeing more of are what we call our 55-plus apartments, and we're talking about generally giving up home ownership and moving to an apartment. 55-plus apartments, such as here, we have 2 of our educational partners. Watermere offers the Reserve, and so then we have others, but a 55-plus apartment, they have activities for seniors, but there's not a meal plan. And for some people, they go, I don't want a meal plan. So there's factors. And we're going to talk more about that on the option, or the overview sheet. But I wanted to just highlight independent living. And then we do have the 55 plus. And of course, we have Oscar, and we have assisted living. And so I'm going to stop at that for right now. But anything else you want to add kind of about the benefits?
Well, you brought up something I probably should have mentioned sooner, is that, again, living by myself in my house, I got tired of cooking for myself. So I live in Westland, where the plan there is you get 1 meal a day as part of your rent, or what you want to call it. You can and they serve noon meal, evening meal. Ironically, to me, my way of looking, the main meal is the noon meal. And another thing, the dinner meal starts at 4:30 and ends at 6. Well, a lot of us are used to starting at 6 and maybe finishing at 8. It's a different routine you need to get used to. But that's one of the compromises, I think, minor compromise in my perspective, that I had to tolerate. What else can I say about this? I'm going to really get in the weeds for just a minute here. When you go visit a place, visit the dining room, okay? Don't necessarily have to eat there, visit and listen and look. Do you hear people talking with each other, or is it silent? You just hear knives and forks clattering. What do you see? Do you see tables for 4, or do you see round tables where people can congregate around and visit with each other? Big difference. Okay?
And those are personal preferences, and that's being clear about what's important to you. And some of the communities where they do serve meals, a family style, 4 to a table. The philosophy is there that you're going to have that interaction. You're not going to be by yourself, and you eat at a common time. And so for some people, that's ideal. Other people are going, that's too restrictive for me. I want flexibility. And so then in some of the communities, you may have a main dining area. Oh, I forgot to mention Grand Living a while ago. We'll talk about them in a minute too. You may have a dining area, more of a bistro, just grab something quick area. Fine dining, there are often different options. Tell us briefly about Oscar. What all do you have there for your dining options?
For dining, like everything else at the Oscar, I think it is a lot of choice. We do have, and it's a contract, I guess, that when we moved in, decided we wanted 3 meals a day. I will tell you that is too much for us. But we also have a plan that we can put things on an account and pay those at the end of the month. So we can have guests, or we can choose whether we want to eat in the big dining room, which is a little more formal. They ask you to wear, long pants for whatever reason. Anyway, and then we have a bistro too, and that's more informal, and that makes it very handy to do. In the dining room, there are tables for 6 or 4 or 2, depending upon your mood for the day. And that's kind of nice as well. So the food.
Do you also have a pub or a bar area, a lounge area there?
Yes, we do. There is a sports bar upstairs, and that's been a fun thing to do. And often we will gather there for lots of different things. Once a month, there is a live music, and we've gone everything from the opera to a great cowboy singer, and many other things in between. They serve food up there as well. So lots of choice, which appeals to me too.
So, Red, tell us a little bit more about your dining options at the Wesleyan.
Pardon me?
Your dining options.
Right. We have, I should have mentioned it sooner, it's really basically cafeteria style. Now, I like that, and I'll tell you why. As it turns out there, you can not only pick what you want and what you don't want, as you go the line. It's quick to get your food. And lots of times, I mentioned that the main meal is the noon meal. Lots of times, they still have food left over from the noon meal at your evening meal. More often than not, there are at least 2 choices for main courses. When I come to, I eat the evening meal there. So there's a variety that way. We have 2 dining rooms. The building, it's attached, but it's really 2 buildings. They have an east and a west. The east building is where I am, which is a newer facility. We have a dining room there. There's another dining room on the west side, which is an older one, which has been rehabilitated to where it looks newer than where I am. So, but those are the food. We also have a bistro, which is, like that type of food, hamburgers and things like that. And they're not open Sunday because, and then they only have 1 meal at the regular place on Sunday, and it's from 10 to 2, and it's a special meal basically.
So all the communities are different, and it's
Yeah.
something to find out, to learn, and for you to think.
One thing I do need to mention,
Okay.
the Wesleyan, as you might guess, is religiously affiliated, and alcoholic drinks are not served.
Okay.
Okay. So there's an important, for some people, you can have, well, I won't ask any more detailed questions, but okay, so that learning about a community, and I know, well, we're going to come up to another one about kind of knowing management, but we'll deal with that in a minute. Anything else you want to add about what have been the benefits of living in your communities that we haven't talked about? Do you want to add, Sherry?
I do. I have lots of benefits of living there. First of all, it's obvious. The amazing people. Up and down the halls, whether it's management, whether it's our wait staff, they have become family because this is a new facility. So we basically.
What do we call it a community?
I beg your pardon?
A community.
It is a community.
It is a community.
Absolutely a community. It's a family, actually, in many ways, because we moved into a new building pretty much at the same time and all had the same experiences at the same time. So that builds relationships very fast. So I love that. There's a lot to do, a lot of choice, and there's fewer responsibilities that you have to take for cleaning or cooking or thinking of wonderful things that you're going to do in the evening. These are all there already. I love our 1-bedroom and den. I really do. That's a place for our computer. And yes, it is. There was a little bit of getting used to sharing my computer with my best friend. That happened too, and that was okay. So we do that, and we share a bathroom, which doesn't seem like to be a big deal, and it wasn't in our case, but it could be. I like our 3rd floor. I'm on the inside of the courtyard, and it's surprising to see how cool, that's a relative term, but there's almost always a breeze. Always a breeze. And I like that a lot, too. We have great, I love the idea that we can choose whether we cook or not. If we decide not to, then we can have food in our kitchen too. And that's wonderful. We have a full kitchen, so that's nice too. Can do it if I want to. I like getting my hair cut. Now, that sounds kind of weird, but on the other hand, I get my own hair for a very long time. And so when we moved in, I said, I think I'll have somebody else cut my hair for the first time. Well, my hair only does one thing, so it's an easy job, but it was harder to reach the back. So it was nice there. I love having transportation.
So you do have a salon there. It's
Absolutely. Uh-huh. Yes, and a pedicurist too, if you choose to do that. I like having transportation when we choose not to drive, to go out to different places, going to a vineyard in Florence, for example. It was nice not to have to drive. If I went to attend a church service in the middle of the afternoon and we can find people to go, and we went to take a bus and find a driver, that's fine too. So I love that. I like having a medical clinic available. They're not there every day, but we can depend upon them coming twice a week, and then if we need them, they will stop by. And they offer amazing things, I think, like in your own home x-rays, that happened. What else? They'll take care of your prescriptions for you if you want to. If you get sick, they will come and help you there in your apartment as well. And so I really like that. And I love the theater. The theater at the Oscar is amazing, and we use it for many, many things. My husband and I host the worship place services on Sunday mornings. We use it for Bible studies. We use it together. We use it for mystery dinners, sports events. It's just all the time. There's something going on. The other thing I really, really like are the special projects that we do. The getting together and making cookies and cupcakes and things for the EMT, who actually have become family too because they come so often to do things like pick us up off the floor. That's wonderful, and we loved.
Said we were going to talk about the realities.
Well, we did. The other thing that we're working on at the moment is that we were invited to do a baby shower for one of our staff people, and all of us grandmas, you can imagine. This is getting way out of hand, actually, but that's a fun thing to do too. And at Christmas time, we have a volunteer gift of money that we collect and then divide up between all of our staff, so that they have a bonus, since we don't pay any tips or give any gifts at all up to that point. I talked about activities and the choices. I love the exercise. We have exercise of a different kind 6 days of every week. So you can really work out if that's part of what you want to do. I like having an on-site PT. There you can, that's not a part of the Oscar, but with a little extra money, they're there to help too. And often many people take advantage of that. We have an indoor pool, which a lot of people really like, and it has the shower rooms and the dressing rooms and all of that there too. So that's really wonderful. I will say too that one of the things that the residents did at the Oscar to take the load off of our management staff, because it's a lot, especially if you're trying to move in and open a whole new building. That's a lot for them to deal with. So we decided to establish what we call neighbor helping neighbor, and every floor has a hall contact, so that if you have questions, if you need help, if there are things you don't know how to operate, like what is this thing called Alexa in your room, and all of those questions that we can answer instead of having them have to go to the management for that. We have 11 resident halls, and there are, I think, 20-some volunteer hall contacts. So that's been wonderful. And the last thing that I will say that we have, that is there to assist and support our management. It is not a governing kind of thing. We don't meet to decide what it is that we are going to have rules for. That's not our point. But we do welcome, and we do inform, and we do help, and it's a wonderful gift for all of us. How's that?
Brian, she may deserve a special bonus there for her promotion of
Do you
the
want to add anything? Okay, good.
He probably learned things from you today.
I'm just going to say ditto.
Okay, all right, there you go. Now, I do want to say, as I'm kind of joking about this, we're not here just to market these two communities.
No.
But what we are here to hear their stories, for this to give you information to think about your next steps.
Yes.
So there are others, and I do want to, yes, we are great. We appreciate it. Oscar is one of our educational partners, so we definitely want to highlight that. But, you get to know the other communities, and if people need information, we can provide that. I have to tell a story about it. When I first met Sherry, was just about a year ago on a community discovery tour that we offered. You're going to hear about in just a few minutes. When their apartment was one of them that we visited at the Oscar. And they had the tour guide to residents. That's how we always do this. And they took us in, and they had it set up to visit apartments. And I was so absolutely blown away by Sherry's enthusiasm, her love for her new community, and embracing life. And so I marked it down then. I thought, okay, I want to hear from her and have you all to hear. Now, you didn't tell us one thing.
I know.
Okay.
You want me to tell it now?
Probably so. Okay, so here's the question. Now, when we move into a senior living community, how does that limit my lifestyle?
It does not. It does not. You can continue to travel. You can continue to do the things that you love to do. In our case, during COVID, we bought a small RV. I know. Had never had one before. And it is small. If you think of an ambulance, that's kind of what it looks like. But anyway, we weren't able to travel. No one could travel at that time. Our family lived in Kansas. And we wanted to visit, and it needed to be done. And so we got it to travel. It's not something we live in, although 2 months is about the limit, and 1 month is probably the best. But anyway, it is a delight. We travel with a purpose, okay, mostly. Often it is to visit family and friends, but there have also been other purposes. Curiosity, for example, because we were sitting on the back porch one day, I guess my husband was golfing, and we hear this noise, and it lasted forever. And we thought, what is that? And it turned out to be the migration of the sandhill cranes. And it lasted for, I don't know, 10 minutes maybe. It was just forever. And you look up and you try to find them, and no, I couldn't see a thing. They fly so high, you couldn't see a thing. So one of the reasons that we have used our RV is we went to find out where they were going. And their resting place is in Nebraska on the Platte River. And so one winter, in the deep snow, we actually went to see where they come to rest. Theirs is one of the longest migrations in the world. And so it was fascinating to see this. The whole community there, the farmers leave extra corn in the field for them. There is a group, a society that protects them while they're there. And it was fascinating to see it. It was wonderful. The other thing I'll mention, and I won't go on into all the other things we've done with it, but one of the ways that we wanted to use the RV was that we wanted to trace the service record of an ancestor of my husband's who fought in the Revolutionary War. and we wanted to see his service. And so it took 2 summers because he was in service for 30 some years. And we found, where he was born, and then went to all the battle sites and, visited Valley Forge, visited the Morristown, I think it was another winter encampment. And that was wonderful. It was so wonderful. Now, the problem I'm having with that is that I promised my grandchildren I would write chapters about this guy. And I've gotten about 7 or 8 done, and now I'm so busy I can't even sit down to do the research and do the pictures that I'm supposed to do. And I keep promising, well, maybe at Christmas, well, maybe at your birthday. So I've got to do better. I'm going to have to lock myself in the apartment.
So now we have a challenge for you. Not all of us are going to want to jump in an RV and go.
No.
They've also been, they were just in Arizona with the
Yep.
predecessors of the Anasazi and researching
Oh,
that.
that was fascinating.
When I had called over to the Oscar about getting her contact information, oh yeah, we just saw their RV, they're just back. And I'm going, what do you mean? They live in a senior independent living community. What do you mean their RV? Well, then we talked about it. Life goes on.
It does, absolutely.
And, but that's not what everybody wants. Real quickly at our downsizing workshop last week, I loved it when one of the attendees was talking about, as we're going through this decision making about where we want to live and we want to be prepared and, the benefits and the challenges. And when he described the process as anxiety to serenity, anxiety because we have all these unanswered questions. Serenity is the peace. Now, not all of us are, this might be too much for many of us, but the point is that's what they love, whereas others of us want something a little calmer, perhaps.
I can understand that.
But so another part, and we'll see if this comes up, but someone had asked me to mention it. When she had moved into a 55-plus condo, she said the greatest gift that move gave to her was a freedom, free of the stuff.
Yeah.
And many of us are wasting a lot of time worrying about the stuff. But she said to be free of that, just changed her attitude. I was just talking to her this week because we're working with a friend of hers who didn't deal with this stuff. And but she was saying she visits with people moving into their community, and a common thing, it's just so good. I've gotten rid of all the stuff that I don't need. So just a word of wisdom in there. Okay, Reg, other things you want to add about the benefits? I know it was important to you to give up worrying about the house and...
Yeah.
And you found out you liked the social part.
Right. Well, as I said, Sherry already talked about all the amenities they have at the facility. We have similar amenities all day long, every day. You can be
And into
busy
the night.
doing stuff. It's just, it's a smorgasbord of activities. I think most all of these facilities feature things like that. But there are 2 things that we offer that I've taken part in. One is a Great Books presentation they have once a week on Mondays, that we have a video of that, and we watch that. And we have a couple of theaters. In one of our theaters, we watched that, and then we discussed what was shown up there in a small group of usually about 20, 25 people. The other the other activity that got involved in is a men's group. This thing is just completely ad hoc. Sometimes we have a program. Sometimes we just sit around and whatever we come up with, we talk for an hour. And that's from 3:30 to 4:30 in the Tuesday evenings, afternoons. So, there's all kinds of variety of things. And one thing, most of these facilities, they will accommodate what the residents want. They will come up with something if they don't have it. They're very accommodating. The same, I will have to say our staff is very friendly people. One tell I will also mention to you is if there's some way you can figure out how long the staff has been there. staff, one benefit of Wesleyan, or facilities-like benefit, they've been around for a long time. We have staff members that have been there for decades. That says a lot to me about a community. And we have, like I say, religious affiliation with the Methodist Church. We are, if you understand the concept, it's a mission of the Methodist Church. They provide limited financial backing, but they also provide other backing. The staff and the management always operates under what you would say Christian principles. And that's been a real positive thing. I've found a lot of people that have the similar background that I have, although I'm not a Methodist. So that's been really something I've really appreciated. So that's about it. I mean,
Yeah, you've covered a lot. You both have.
there's all kinds of reasons that you will find that you will not see right away.
That's true.
Like I said, things will just sort of happen, and you'll notice things that you're there for a while.
Okay, so you have us all excited about all these opportunities. But you know what? There's always that elephant in the room. Moving.
Which one?
Yeah, well, we're not getting,
No.
Moving from living in one's own home to living in an apartment, in a smaller space, there are challenges that you just mentioned briefly. But what have been some of the challenges that you've experienced? Well, I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to let you name one. We'll go back and forth. Sherry, what's one for you?
Moving from a home that was about, 2,500 square feet to one almost 600 square feet. That was a challenge.
Ooh,
There you go.
yeah.
Okay, that's one. We're going to do this kind of in a rapid back and forth. Reg, what has been a challenge for you?
Well, I moved home about the same size, but my apartment's a little larger. It's just a little over 1,000 square feet. And I can honestly say I do not miss that big house. I'm very comfortable in the apartment that I have. And that's, because it answers the needs I have and the likes that I have as well.
So, kind of a caveat to that is this whole idea of, oh my goodness, how am I going to live in a 600,
Totally.
1,000? You're thinking that 1,000 square foot apartment sounds really big.
It sounds big.
We often, when we think about, we may live in a 2,400 square foot home now or whatever.
Yeah.
But the truth is, how much of that area do you live in? A lot of us have unused size. A lot of us have unused bedrooms, dining rooms, so on. So, it's not, and a lot of it is cluttered with the stuff. So then the question is, how do we make that move? Come back next month, and we're going to talk more about how to make the move. Okay, another challenge, Sherry.
Another challenge is a two-sided one. Ours was a brand new building, and that has lots of benefits. It does have a lot of benefits. It's nicely painted, everything's all fresh and new. Well, but then, like buying a new car right off the product line, there's always a few things that are a little needed. You know what that means. And there is always a little tweaking that need to be done in various places. So waiting for the repairs was a little bit of a challenge, and didn't have very many, but it still had to happen.
Okay, that's an interesting challenge to consider. You're right. Reg, another challenge.
Challenge. I haven't had that many, to be honest with you. When I moved into the apartment that I really wanted, they gave me the option. They always do this. They will paint the apartment. They paint it whatever color you want. In my case, they also let me put in a new carpet. I have green walls and a green carpet.
It is very attractive.
Thank you. She's seen it. She knows what it is.
It's nice.
It's unusual, but it's very light green walls and darker green
It is,
carpet,
yes,
to be
it
honest
is
with
not chartreuse, and it
No.
is not dark green.
you. No.
Good.
But my thinking there was, although the way my apartment is arranged, the three main rooms, the two bedrooms and the living room all have windows. So it's as light as you can get in an apartment.
That's great.
But I wanted light-colored walls to keep it as light as possible. And they were very accommodating with that. The only thing I wish, my kitchen has dark cabinets in it, but what are you going to do?
It's okay.
Okay, another challenge. Then we're going to move to advice quickly.
Okay.
Do you have a
Another
challenge?
challenge was a kind of a communal schedule. Living back in a community, which a communal community, is not something I had done since college. So there was a little bit of an adjustment with that. That apartment living, there's somebody downstairs. I have to be careful. The very first day I dropped a whole glass jar of oatmeal and probably scared Yvonne to death. But, there's a lot of that you have to kind of think about. So, and the other one is a personal item, and that is I miss my back porch. I miss the backyard. I spent a great deal of time. It was another room in my house. I have a lovely balcony, and I am on the courtyard, and it's lovely. I really like it. But it's something I had to get used to.
Good point. Okay. All right. I'm going to move on real quickly so then we can have people ask questions before the final part here. If you were going to give, let's start with one word of advice or one topic of advice. I'm going to let Reg go first this time. Reg, these wonderful people who are thinking they may or may not someday want to make a move, what's your word of advice?
Well, I think I said something about this in the very beginning. Sit down and write out a list of things you really want to have and prioritize them. That's the best thing, and keep the goal in mind as you go along.
Yes.
There will be challenges, but keep that goal in mind. That's where you want to be. Do what it takes to get there. Like I said, I'll just give you one example. I moved into one apartment just to get into the community. And then I moved to the apartment I really wanted. Not many people think about doing that. But there were other little things along the way I did to get me the right step to my goal of living in this model apartment in this particular building in this particular community.
And some of you who haven't had an experience of this are still think, why don't you just go there to begin with? One of the things you will learn with some of our communities is there are wait lists.
Yes.
And there's also a lot of misinformation about wait lists. Wait lists have lots of different factors. So just because your neighbor said, well, there was a 3-year wait to get into a certain community, get the facts. Sometime if they are waiting for that 2-bedroom apartment,
Yeah.
So here was a work around it, Or if you have pets, that's going to have some restrictions. So I'm just saying, so that was your workaround to get to what you wanted, which that works well. Sherry, what's your word of advice?
I will add a little bit onto what you were saying. It's very important to know the pros and the cons of the place where you're living. And I would say financially, yes. Emotionally is one we don't think about as much. How does this fit how you like to live? Or maybe you're a brand new widow or widower and you want to move because other places make you feel very lonely. And that's important to think about too, as well as the physical. Reg also mentioned earlier, I think, to visit. And I would say that's very, very important. Stay if you can. At the Oscar, there is a way to stay even overnight if you'd like to really get a hang of what's happening. Ask to eat, and then visit other people who live there. Ask the questions you want to know. And I will say this, the best money I ever we spent, was to hire Downsizing to help. It was an incredible help.
Next month to get a lot of information about that.
Oh my word! I can't say enough. It was wonderful. Help you pack, help you unpack.
So you'll be hearing a lot about that. So hopefully that we think, I think right now, hopefully your mind is spinning with, wow, there are opportunities here. And I'm going to explain our community discovery tours. But I want to first open it up for a few questions.
Yep.
Now, I'm going to also say if your questions are very specific questions, more about your own lifestyle, that would be something. They'll be around to visit with you. And we also have our community people here today. Brian with the Oscar, and I'm sorry I've forgotten the name of our person from Watermere today. I'm going to be talking about Watermere in just a moment. Caitlin is here with Truewood, our assisted living and memory care. And as we say, I think Sherry mentioned when you all were looking, you wanted to be a community that had different levels of care. So many of our communities here do have that independent living, assisted living, and memory care. Oscar does, Wesleyan does, and others, and some have a little bit different option. But let's open it up for questions.
And also, could I go ahead and have Brian and Bailey and Caitlin just kind of come up here, and just so they can keep face and names, and so they will be available after if you have questions. But any questions right here?
I wanted to know if there is technical assistance for all the wonderful electronic gadgets.
That is an outstanding question. I just got a new computer, and I know the importance of assistance. Does your communities offer some kind of technical? Oh, okay, Brian's going to answer that one.
So through both sales and maintenance between the two of us, if you have questions about Wi-Fi and getting everything connected and up and running, we can help you, walk you through that. And usually we can just for us to just hook it up for you. So it's really not much of an issue.
So that's a good question to ask a community. I'm not sure that we had that on our too long of list, but what kind of technical support is there? Okay, or ask grandkids to come in to do it. Caitlin.
Yes, so we have a maintenance director. He's been there over 9 years. He helps hook up TVs. He's helped people with exactly what Brian said. Sales, not so much, but he's been there for a very long time, and he definitely helps with technical issues all the time.
Same thing. Most of our maintenance techs will go out and help, as well as our office staff will help as best as we can.
Okay, thank you. Get rid of so much stuff, it's easier to move. So you go to a community and things may change. You may change. Sometimes we think of it as a life sentence. I can never make a move again, but you could. So, but Reg, what would be your biggest disappointment?
Wow, that's very hard, and my disappointment is very trivial, to be honest with you. We have parking all around our buildings. Covered parking is available for a small charge. I think it's like $40 a month. Where I have covered parking is very convenient to a door. Unfortunately, it's 2 hallways, long hallways from my apartment.
That gives you exercise.
Yeah, that's true. But
Parking is a challenge in many communities.
I'm at a stage in life where walking that far is sometimes a challenge. I'm sorry. But it's not anything that keeps me from getting in my car and going places.
And that's an important point. People are still active in doing things. Any other questions? Yes. Here comes the mic. Excuse me.
My mother lived in an independent living facility in another state, and it was in the Midwest. It was in Nebraska, and so they had garages, and that you could rent, kind of like you rent the covered parking, which was very nice because you never had to get out in the elements because there was an elevator by the garages and you could go up.
Yeah.
But they also had, for people that had a garage, there was an area in the front for storage. And for the people that didn't rent the garages, there was a small storage area that was kind of looked like a very large pet facility because it was totally all the way up to the ceiling and everything with a door and locks. And you got one of those as part of, so you didn't, so if there were stuff like my mother had bins of genealogy research, she didn't necessarily want it in her apartment. That was a good place for her to put it. Do you guys have places like that in your facilities?
Yes, on every floor, we have a storage room, and we have storage on, I think on every floor, maybe two floors, with storage there that you can rent. And we have boxes to the ceiling, and I don't know how I would get it, but I got everything out from under the bed that way. It was really nice.
Do you want to add anything, Reg?
Yeah, we have storage facilities, several rooms that have been converted for, and I actually rent 2 of them, so, I'm
Reg,
glad.
you gotta get that down to 1. Come on.
That's what my daughter tells me. I'm not ready to give up my Lionel train set.
Okay, all right. I want to just thank you all so much for sharing. And you asked an important question. I know it sounds like, are we just trying to be super positive, only share the good points? I really don't think they were. But it depends on the person. And that's when we talk about the journey, downsizing journey and moving to an apartment, a condo. When you move, embrace the life there. Become involved. Now, if you want to be Nelly negative and just complain about the food and the, you can do that. Your neighbors wish you wouldn't, and you're not going to be a very happy person. So it's, we learned, it was when we talked early, Sherry made that point about communal living, like, oh, that's right. When we were in apartments, or college life. So you live with it and you go with it. You can like it and be happy, and your neighbors will be happier too. Okay.
The best thing you can do is take a good attitude.
Okay, say that without here.
The best thing you can take is a good attitude. Be flexible.
Okay.
You look like you have a question.
Okay, it's been our last question.
It might be a silly. It might be a silly question, but what do you do about a Christmas tree?
Oh, Christmas tree. Whatever you want. Some apartments are big enough, they brought their full Christmas trees with them in their apartment, decorate your apartment. We did. But also, there's wonderful spaces all over the building that has lots of decorations. So Christmas is a big part of everything, as all holidays are. It's a wonderful place to celebrate, actually.
Yeah, you get to benefit from enjoying all the beautiful decorations and not having to unpack them, and even worse, packing them back again. Okay, I'm going to let you all sit here just for a minute while I'll explain this. Okay, to help you in your next steps of your journey, next steps not necessarily meaning you're moving in the next 3 or 4 or 5 months, but you are planning. We often talk about, I'm not going to move right now, but if something were to happen and I needed to plan a little or make a move earlier, where would I go? An important step, we've heard wonderful stories. Now we want to support you and offer opportunities for you to visit communities. Now, I forgot to have this in the handout, so bear with me. We are going to offer what we call our community discovery tours, and it's a time to visit communities, and the staff, yes, they will welcome you. But the best part is residents will give the tours, and that's not the norm, but that's our requirement. And so you will get to see all the amenities, the gyms, the pools, the salons, the dining rooms. And in so doing with a resident, you will hear stories about what the life is really like there. So I encourage you to get a pen out, and you're going to make your own information sheet. This is called Being Involved. And so we thank our communities that are participating with us. Watermere will be welcoming us on Tuesday, November the 4th, from 1 to 3. And what this means is, and there'll be a sign-up sheet over at this table, and they're limited spots. I think we can take 20, so that should accommodate people. We meet at 1, and we will follow up with you to give you all the directions. Watermere is down in that border between Georgetown and Round Rock on 1431 University. To many of us, it's still 1431. Over by Round Rock Higher Ed Center. We'll meet there. We will give you a map. Meet there at 1. We'll be greeted, and we'll visit. So at Watermere, and Watermere is independent living, and actually across the street is the Reserve. They're 55-plus communities, so you'll at least see that. We don't know if we'll go over there. But, so did you get that date? Just take them down in case you decide you need this information. Watermere at Round Rock, Tuesday, November the 4th at 1 o'clock. Our next tour is to Truewood. Now, some people, well, I'm not interested in assisted living. You know what? Things might change, and it's certainly helpful to know. Truewood by Merrill of Georgetown is Thursday, November the 6th, 10 a.m. So Caitlin over at her table, but we'll have our sign-up sheets here. So if you want to visit, and they have assisted living and memory care. And then we have the Oscar. Okay. On Tuesday, November the 11th at 1 p.m., 1 to 3, we're going to meet for those who'd like to go on a community tour to the Oscar. And so Oscar's over here in Williams Drive. But again, we will send you maps and directions and help you know where to park. So if you got those 3 dates, Vince, you want to go ahead and under our banner, Adventure Awaits, we're starting you on this adventure by getting to visit the communities. So it's something we've done for at least 3 or maybe 4 years, and it's always been interesting. So you'll meet the staff very briefly. You'll go on tours with the residents, get to see some apartments as well as the amenities, and then usually we come back together. By that time, you'll probably have more questions, and we will allow the staff to answer questions. Caitlin? Sure.
Good morning, everyone. I know a few people have been to Truewood before, and how we do advertise that we're assisted living and memory care. We say that because we provide all 3 meals. We do your laundry and housekeeping. We do have people there that are independent, still drive, and come and go. So I do want to let you know, if you move in there, you're not trapped or anything. You still get to be a free person. If you still drive, that's wonderful. But I do know a lot of people think, oh, it's just assisted living. It's just because we offer those extra amenities that independent living doesn't offer. So thank you.
Thank you for clarifying that. And that's so important because you all do, and I think that's been a change with your management the last few years. You've really added that component or made it more available, yeah. So, but just real quickly on there's a summary sheet here of what we mentioned earlier about 55-plus apartments, independent living, assisted living. And assisted living, you do have the 3 meals, and there are different levels of care. And there are lots of questions about that, whether or not it's a contractual item by item, or there's services, or is it a basic price? And so you all are assisted living and independent in memory care. And Oscar has assisted living too. We also have a, yes.
Just thought of one more thing that maybe other people are wondering about. There's a variation of cost. What kind of price increases from year to year have you seen? I guess that's a question I didn't get answered, and I think it's probably on a lot of people's mind.
Can you all give us an estimate real quickly?
So typically, like in the Austin metro area, Round Rock and at Georgetown, it's going to be in between 4% and 6%. year over year.
Okay, Brian, hold the mic.
Oh, sorry. So 4 to 6% year over year is usually what you can kind of expect. I can't speak for everybody else, but if you're nodding, yeah. So that's generally speaking what you're going to see. Same with apartments, any traditional apartments too.
Yeah, and so, good point. Now, and that was a very good segue. Down at the bottom, we have the continuing care retirement communities, CCRCs. Now, it's a very interesting concept. We highlight the points there too. The reason I'm really tied that in with the cost is we do not have true CCRCs here in Georgetown. There are 3 in Austin. There's the Longhorn Village at Steiner Ranch, the Westminster across from Camp Mabry, and Corinthia at Barton Creek. The deal with CCRCs, it's a contractual agreement. You move into a CCRC as independent living, and you have your apartment, and you do pay a very large deposit. And we're talking, it varies, and now there's some variations on these plans, but.
And large as in 6 figures,
Yeah,
large,
I just
usually.
took my time getting these words
just
out.
put that in context.
500,000, 800,000, but here, don't panic. Come on, you're still here. What do you get for that? You are guaranteed what you're going to be paying the remainder of your life. So I go in independent living, my apartment, based on the size, and I pay my monthly fee. If I need to move to assisted living, I'm going to continue paying what I've been paying. There'll be a slight increase because now you have more meals. And if I need memory care, now a lot of our communities offer all levels of care, which is great. The difference with CCRCs is it's a contractual agreement. They will provide that care at that rate. And remember that large deposit you paid? At the time of your death, generally, 90% of that goes back to your estate. Now, there are some variations where it's like 80%, and but I'm kind of the original model, that was it. So for people who have those funds available, it's an investment, and then at the time of your death, a large percentage of that does go back to your estate. So, okay, a lot of information there. If you want to know more about those or clarification, any of these, come by my table, or Vince can answer those questions too. But I do want to remind you of your feedback sheet that Vince mentioned. Let us give us feedback. And if you want to mark on there, sign up for the next month's seminar, which we're going to continue this. We had a great introduction today about the importance of downsizing process, and we'll talk more about that. If you want to sign up for community tours, the page sign-up sheets are over there. And I want to once again thank our panel, thank our communities for being here and being partners, and thank you all for making time to attend, and hope to see you on some of the community tours. And Vince and I will be on those as well, and then see you next month. Thank you.